Sports Jedi Network presents From the Bronx to Bound for Glory, the rise of Mike Santana. The Bronx is where the story begins. For a young man named Mike Sanchez, we know him as Mike Santana. Where once the Bronx is burning, in the 70s and in the 80s, a young man is raised and channels his Puerto Rican heritage in every promo and every match. His story resonates with fans who crave authenticity and cultural pride. His upbringing as a young son to his father, his teaming with his partner, Angel, Ortiz, LAX, the two young men from the Bronx, Puerto Rican descent, takes the world by storm. As Mike ventures on his own, we are with him. We see his struggles off the wrestling ring. But just like each and every one embodies in New York City, we pick ourselves up. We rise. We put our New York pants, our Bronx strong, and we bound as a son, father, brother, as a Puerto Rican, we see you and believe in you. Behind his looks, speaks, and sounds, each of the moments, content, every bit of struggle. We identify with Metro Valle, Bronx. As you can see, Mike has a challenge, a goal in front of him to be TNA World Champion. We ride and die like the greats of the past, like a Clemente, like a Tito Trinidad, like a Hector Macho Camacho. Some of those greats that we see currently, like a Damian Priest, representing nuestra cultura, nuestra gente. We are with Mike. We ride and die, Mike Santana.
First, the match was just announced as Trick versus Joe, and y'all made y'all voices heard loud and clear that y'all were not having it, right? So, this one is for y'all. You know, this one is for everyone that made their voice heard and for everyone that has supported me and they, yeah, man, wave that flag, because, like, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of flags waving at UBS Arena. And
we'll be there waving it too.
Yeah, man, I just want to give a huge shout out and a thank you to all of those people. And again, like I said, I ain't going to UBS to lose. Like, I cannot, you know. And I said this before and I'll say it again. Joe and Trick are stepping in the ring with me. And they come in across a different type of breed of animal, bro. So the fire's lit, and the only thing that's missing is getting to Sunday and me walking in that building and turning shit up. I love it.
So this Sunday, todo Puerto Rico, todo Bronx, todo Nueva York, pa'lante. Porque la vida te da sorpresa te da la vida. Y nuestro horario va a dar sorpresa in Low, Massachusetts. We ride and die again with Mike Santana. Because he is our champion. Nuestro escogido. Dale, Mike. This one's for us. The Mike Santana redemption. Todo Puerto Rico, todo Low, Massachusetts. Vamos, que podemos. Here we go, Chris. You ready? Chris, you ready? Vamos,
let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. The story continues. Yes, indeed. El día de victoria, de celebración, celebration. Nuestro gallo from the Bronx, New York. His name is Born Nasty. Mike Santana is your TNA World Champion. Yo, we are excited. I am still emotional. Chris, talk to me, brother. Talk to me. Wepa. Let's go.
After going to New York and witnessing Mike Santana lose in that heartbreaking way in person last night, the man has finally finished his story, not just for himself, not just for his family, his daughter, Team TNA, but for us, the people, the Puerto Ricans, the culture. It was done last night, and it was a very, very good match. I thought Trick Williams did a phenomenal job of giving Santana his moment. It's his moment when he finally presented the title to his daughter. We're going to get into that and more, but it finally happened, and we have been saying this all year since the year started. He was going to get that title, and it happened. I'm really happy, man. Really, really, really excited.
Look, qué privilegio. It is a privilege, an honor, un honor, un orgullo, a pride. Why? Mike Santana from the Bronx, recovering from the knee surgery. The doubt of can he work and make it on his own as a singles competitor? Does he need his partner? Betting on himself, overcoming these talked about addiction with alcoholism and all the other stuff that he's opened about. Being there and rising for his daughter, for himself, for la cultura latina, or the Puerto Rican, giving back to New York and running, because it doesn't start with just him showing up to TNA and all of a sudden things change. Let's talk about his run in New York City independency, giving back, helping those young men and women in the New York independent wrestling scene, metropolitan area. When I mean New York City, going giving back, inspiring guys like our friends, the Uptown Boys, inspiring other folks, other young men and lady from that area, from that region too. We could make it. We celebrate this world title together. Yes, he's done the work, but our applause, our time, our love, our passion as a fan, at least for us, we are so proud for him and what he represents. A true organic, realistic movement. It's not forced. And again, it's not throwing shade. It's not about pointing fingers or diminishing other people's the way they get over. But Mike Santana doing this with the love of the crowd, coming through the crowd, saying he's Born Nasty, being real. I think it gravitates, it grabs me, it connects to me. It grabs me. It just totally, I identify so 1000% with him. And man, boy, I'm telling you, for this, and for an older man watching wrestling for 40 years, Mike, in a moment where I haven't seen anything organically captivated, just caught me, man. It got me hooked. It gave me those moments as a young man again, as a young kid with my grandfather, watching, hearing about Pedro Morales, talking about Carlito Colon, the greats, la leyenda, from the Puerto Rican scene of wrestling, seeing Savio Vega. When I saw he come out, I go, oh man, this guy looks like a, Savio. Didn't see the Carlito, now seeing where, all the greats, I would in all the sports, Chris, watching Hector Macho Camacho come up, Tito Trinidad, Miguel Cotto, Amanda Samano.
Absolutely,
Chris,
man.
It means so much to me.
No, absolutely. And I've had this conversation, with a lot of independent wrestler friends too. It's like, the lack of Puerto Rican culture representation in pro wrestling, in general right now, with Priest, Bad Bunny, but Mike Santana feels organic. It feels like he wants to represent. It's not like he's on the big stage and he doesn't have anybody in his ear. This isn't throwing shade at anybody, but it's not like he has somebody in his ear that's like you might want to tell people you're Puerto Rican. Even we didn't know that before, but now you should. No, this guy's been real since day one. And then, like you mentioned with other athletes, Miguel Cotto is a big one for boxing. I was a big my kind of era. I'm a little younger. I like the Yadier Molina catcher for the Cardinals, even though I am a Pirates fan and I can't fucking stand the Cardinals. Watching him just represent. So it's all about representing, and to Mike Santana falling under that list of champions, it's special. It's special for all of us. Special for all of us. Especially in that pro wrestling scene where there's not many of Mike Santanas. There's very, very few, and if they are, they don't really rep it as much. So I'm happy, man.
Excited. I'm excited where he goes next. With his the face of TNA Wrestling. Right now, greatest time for him to be on top, where they're ascending. And if you start, again, you got to also say thank you to the guys that laid the foundation, prior to Mike Santana, like a Nick Nemeth bringing the eyeballs into as a world champion, Joe Henry going over as viral champion, then the crossover promotion, seeing it promoted on WTV with Trick Williams, who did a phenomenal job as NXT TNA World Champion for Trick, and then Mike laying that foundation there. We could question about how the road got there, but at the end of the day, we got to the end game. We're gonna break all that down, but we just want to give our thoughts first before we talk about the whole wonderful night of celebration for TNA Wrestling. I put a title there, from the Bronx to Bound for Glory, the rise of Mike Santana, the redemption story. And if that's what you think when we look at the 2025 Bound for Glory, I think that's the perfect title we have there for Mike. That whole show felt that way. I know we said a goodbye to an era in tag team royalty. We get it. We understand that. But I felt, to me, I identify with this story, with this passion of the Mike Santana redemption story. Like you said, Chris, going there and being at the UBS arena, he came from Pennsylvania, took the Osella. I flew from Orlando, Florida. Why? Because that's our champ. We believe in this man. And look, we're going to be totally brutally honest with you right now. We have a sponsor in Dude Wipes, and we want to say thank you for Dude Wipes, but there is no financial with the Dude Wipes right now coming in. There is no financial help in our channel, period. We're not sponsored financially with anyone. We're kind of having, the construction world. I'm going to be totally, like, Mike is real. We're going to be real with you. We're both electricians, and right now, work is slow as shit. We don't even know how we're going to pay our mortgages, to be honest with you. We're going to be totally brutally honest with you. We ask if you want to donate a super chat. We love that. Thank you. But we're not here for that. We're here because we love Mike Santana. And we went and we decided to go to the UBS, fly, hotel, all that, because that's how much this man has in his story meant to us. It's not for you guys to feel sorry. I want you to know that. I want you to identify we are truly die hard, ride and die with that man, with that man's story. And that's a great. I'm still emotional. This morning, at 4 a.m, on my way to work, and they told me they had no work for me. So you look at the up and down of the roller coaster that it is in the life, but it's not going to take away my joy and my pride of what Mike did in the wrestling business. This is why I hate when there's tribalism, because wrestling is our escape away from every day. From now, I don't know if I'm going to work tomorrow. I don't know I'm going to pay to keep these lights on, yada, yada, yada. That's, again, boo-hoo. No one wants to hear a pity party. And we're not here for that. We're just telling you, in a world where we see realism, wrestling is an escape. That's why we ask you guys to, the tribalism got to put aside and let's enjoy professional wrestling. Instead of critiquing everything about that happens and finishes and all that stuff. That's just, let's get into celebrating TNA Bound for Glory, because it was a celebration from the opening segment with the knockouts being inducted in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to say this, and I mean it with all due respect, with a lot of love and respect. The beautiful people out there, they are gorgeous still. Oh my goodness. I didn't really watch them in their TNA glory days, you know, personally. But watching them watching them being inducted, my goodness, I never seen, you know, for what they being a Hall of Famers, they are phenomenally gorgeous. I'm gonna say this again. Great speech. I love how they talked and they ran down all the different knockouts in the gauntlets. Great job. I thought, you know, I really enjoyed everything from that Hall of Fame, even Mickey James. Chris, your thoughts on the first mistake? Let's talk about the beautiful people.
Velvet Sky's a childhood crush of mine. I watched Velvet Sky and Angela Love when I was a kid. Yeah, and then I found out who she was found out who her boyfriend was. Now he's Bully Ray, if you guys don't know. So now oh yeah, her and Bully Ray were almost gonna get married. So
right,
but yeah, anyway. That. Yeah, Velvet Sky and Bully Ray were a big thing. But
an item.
Anyway, she I'm gonna go into her specifically because she's the standout. She always stood out. I think what she did for the Knockouts division during that time, you know, she was a great wrestler. She she reminded me of like Britt Baker during TNA's like rough, weird time, especially in the Knockouts division. She was she carried the flag. Her and OBD carried the flag. It reminded me of like a modern day, like kind of Gail Kim, Awesome Kong, you know, kind of them holding down the fort. And then when they kind of stopped, it was kind of like her, Mickey. It was good. It was good. I enjoyed Velvet Sky, Angela Love, and you know the Knockouts induction for the Hall of Fame. You know, give them their props because I've said this numerous of times. I think they've recently, you can argue that, but you know, consistently, at least, you know, in my opinion, they've had one of the better knockout divisions, one of the better women wrestling divisions in all of pro wrestling. So I don't mind, you know, the women, the knockouts getting their flowers, especially Velvet Sky. So I liked it.
Let's go right into Mickey James with the Hall of Fame induction. We have Victoria, if you know her from the WWE days, Lisa Marie. I
am the lady to mess with.
I like the fact that she came out emotional. I love the fact that she says, I'm a tomboy girl, and she took her shoes and flipped them. And I was saying that on our watch on, boy, where's Tony Atlas when you need that there? Because Tony Atlas has a foot fetish. He would have been going bananas for those shoes. I digress. I love the fact that she came out with the original Knockouts title, that Knockouts TNA title there. For Mickey, she got emotional. She ripped the speech and spoke from the heart. I think when you have these Hall of Fame type of speeches, you speak from the heart there, and I love that. I love all the moments, the uninspected moments, and before, and how I forget about this. Tommy Dreamer got to put the brown paper bag on his head by the beautiful people. That was hilarious. That was funny. That homage there when you used to get the brown paper bag on their head. But let's talk about Mickey. Mickey, I've kind of felt a little bit bad for her. Like Mickey is one of those that deserves to get a lot of flowers and accolades, but I damn felt bad that Nick Aldis couldn't be there. I know he's in Australia where the WWE timing for the Crown Jewel situation with SmackDown being overseas. He did the video tribute, and she kind of mentioned it on the Hall of Fame speech. I was like, for once, can you just, give Mickey James a freaking break? That's what I said. In my head, I was like, couldn't you have Nick Aldis unless Nick didn't want to go to TNA? I don't know. We don't know. I don't. But I was like, damn, can you allow Nick go be with your wife? Couldn't he just be there for her? Like WWE, it's okay. SmackDown was a great show on Friday, but Nick Aldis not being there, it would have not hurt it. I didn't know why Nick Aldis couldn't be there. I feel so bad for Mickey in that aspect, but she had her son, Donovan. And to me, she spoke right to the point what she meant. And I'm going to ask you this, Chris. I feel Mickey James' TNA run career much more greater than her WWE career. Your thoughts?
That's debatable. I wouldn't disagree with that. I definitely think her, hardcore country run, she definitely, they needed her at a very tough time, and she came in and kind of put TNA women's knockouts wrestling back on the map. I can agree with Nick Aldis. My only thing is they are in Australia, and Nick's a little over with the ladies in the overseas. So I can see why maybe WWE maybe needed him, but I agree. He's not involved right now in any big stories that he would need to be on TV like he was with like an Adam Pearce or like a Chelsea or something like that. My only thing is he is implicated on TV still. He is still an on-screen character. So I don't know. I agree. That's just my only reason why I think he's there. But it sucks. But I agree. But no, Mickey's great. Mickey's great. She's one that with what everything that's been coming out recently in WWE, not coming out, not like anything like came out, but like her getting replaced on LFG by Michelle McCool because of some politicking. Yes, I'm going to say it. It's good to see TNA kind of give her a positive moment and, give her her flowers in a sense.
Yeah, and me, I say she has a better run in TNA but both careers are worthy for Hall of Fame. I think WWE
as a champion, I think she was a better in TNA 100%.
But all in all, as a talent, I think Mickie James deserves and earned the right to be in the WWE Hall of Fame as well. When that story is complete, she should be a dual Hall of Famer, for TNA Hall of Famer and WWE Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Her introduction, her burst on the scene with the Trish Stratus introduction with her was phenomenal. Talk about uber storytelling. That was, Stalker. Mickie was great. All that what she did for women's wrestling. I think, yeah, she needs to be in the WWE Hall of Fame as well. And I know it will be. It's only a matter of when, not if, when for Mickie James. And I love that for her. Congratulations for all the knockouts, all women Hall of Fame induction for TNA. They continue now breaking barriers, breaking strides. We always knew that they were the trendsetters or the trailblazers when it comes to showcasing the women's wrestling. Everyone thinks it's WWE, now they've taken the mantle as the best women's division. We could argue back and forth, but at the time where you only had Trish and Lita just back and forth in panties, they wrestle well, great, don't get me wrong. But TNA was doing things with their knockouts that we're like, holy smack, hardcore matches, all these different things. They push, they say follow us. And Mickie James, with along with many other of the knockouts, like the Beautiful People, you think of their names in that history book. So congratulations, all three ladies. You are Hall of Famers. You deserved it. You earned it. You worked your ass off, and we're going to celebrate that with you, ladies. Bravo for all those that were inducted. Bravo for for the family members that were attending there and everyone. This is for you. All right. They gave us. Here's the one thing though. When you have the good and the bad, and it wasn't. I don't think it was bad, but it was a little misfortune. They had the pre-hour. You had 15 minutes to put in a TNA Tag Team Knockouts Champions rematch. The Inspirations taking on the H by Elegance, the Elegance brand. Interesting that we saw Ash come out at the entrance, gave the girls their blessing a kiss, and let's send them on the way like a mama hen. Match was a match that I thought was a little rushed because circumstance-wise, they want to get done before the top of the hour. Of the Hall of Fame speech might have went 5 minutes too long. Who knows? The Inspiration retained. I kind of had an idea they were going to do that, but they're kind of telling a story that Heather keeps hitting M by accident. So do you think they're going to split? I think they're going to add another member.
I mean, they should at this point. I mean, if Ash isn't gonna be there, and obviously she's not able to wrestle or anything, they should. I mean, I don't think this match needed to be on the show at all, personally,
Okay.
especially if with how rushed it was, because it wasn't a great match. These two tag teams they don't work good together. I don't want to see this match again. We've seen this on Impact the last 3 weeks. We've seen this on the last PLE. We're good. I think this was something that they wanted to do to finish the trilogy. They finished it. Inspiration's gonna move on. Ash and the Elegance branch is gonna move on. I'm more curious to see what they're gonna do because they're a little bit more interesting, especially with the personal concierge. But I hope this was the end of that feud or trilogy, because I do not want to see this match take place again, because they're not good.
Oh, okay. Here's the one I didn't like. The finish was a little wonky there. I don't know if they couldn't pick up M by Elegance. I always told you this, and I say it again, and I'll keep saying it on every live stream or watch along. Maggie's the star of that whole group.
Yep.
Maggie's the breakout star. Maggie Lee is a breakout star. She checks the boxes. Of course, she needs more seasoning, more ring reps. Plain and simple. She's not a bad wrestler. I don't know if the girls, Royce, Payton, and Cassidy had a hard time finishing her finishing move. It kind of, they kind of, it didn't look crisp, but I don't know if they were rushing to get to the top of the hour. So I'm not going to go critical on it. Like you said, if I would have seen this as a rematch, as a main event for a Impact Zone, would have been great because they would have gave the amount of times. But they're not doing any tapings right now. We'll get into that in a little bit for TNA. So they had to give us that. They had to give us that rematch and keep that knockout title fresh in our mind. You know what? The ladies worked off. They were on the pay-per-view to kick it off. Even it was the pre-show, but they followed a great Hall of Fame induction on 4 of 3 wonderful knockouts in that company. So all in all, not bad. And we get to the start of the pay-per-view. To me, was one of my favorite spots to start. Once again, I might be a little biased, but being an opportunity to interview Steve Maclin on my program, following his Boots to Boots podcast, a new episode just dropped. With the infantry, great, check it out. But I'm going to be totally honest. When I saw the entrance with the United States Marine Corps did the Star Spangled Banner, and then they lined up, and it was Maclin's time, bro, I popped. And I didn't serve. My friend David served. Afghanistan was good friends with him, and I have that told, great, story through him, and met a lot of great friends as Marines. Be able to hang out, have a beer, go clubbing, all that stuff with them. I've been in that. I know they're, how close of a family they are, and I know the story of the Marines, and that, and to see him, how much it meant for him to be out. They were out there with all the flags, and they were there for him to come down the aisle. I know that it hit Steve Maclin and took him to another level of zone. To me, I popped for that. I was so happy for him. I also enjoy Frankie Kazarian. I say he's a Mount Rushmore for TNA. When the match started, I was so surprised that I didn't even expect Steve Maclin to come out victorious and win the international title back, but also his mom. I thought his mom had so much color and so much sazon, because we are Latinos with wrestling voices, flavor to the match. My goodness, the 2 birds for Frankie Kazarian. It was cool. I liked it, Chris. Your thoughts, and congratulations to Maclin becoming 2-time international champion, getting your title back. Messias, he's coming for you, brother.
Yeah, I thought this was the perfect match to open the show. This is something I really, really enjoyed. This was a hard-hitting battle between two guys who are big and technical. And I think Frankie got a lot of moves there. There was hard-hitting slams. Steve Maclin's mom, again, I like the middle fingers. It's good to stuff like that adds stuff into a match. Obviously, we saw it in the main event, but we saw that all night, really. But no, it was a good technical match. I mean, this is what you're gonna get. I'm also surprised that Steve Maclin got back his international title, but I'm not. Now that later on in the show we'll talk about what happened because, but I
Makes
understand why. It makes sense now. It makes sense, but it was a really, really good, hard-hitting match. I enjoyed it. It was so technical. A lot of, arm locks, submissions. A lot of still got their hard-hitting, strikes in there and their clotheslines, power bombs. Yeah, it was a good match between two guys again who are very, very, very good at the technical side of wrestling. We're gonna see high-flying spots later on the show. We're gonna see weapons. We're gonna see, maybe matches that are gonna be wonky, hardcore, to see a good pro wrestling match. This is exactly what that was, and I really, really liked it.
How did you like the callback with to AJ Styles and Christopher Daniel with the
awesome.
Angel's wings and the Pele kick?
That was awesome.
And the whole weekend was tributes. Because we haven't done our Crown Jewel review. We might do that later on tonight. Because right now we're dedicating here for TNA right now. It's TNA's time. It's a celebration of Mike Santana and TNA Wrestling. Everyone, from everyone. So that's why we're here right now. But I loved it. I loved the callback. And also, speaking, with that, now TNA wants to really make it their title really feel international, Chris. Well, now you have a storyline coming out where Maclin is challenging a Messiah from AAA Mexico. They can have it in Mexico if they want, make it really an international challenge on a Worlds Collide or any of the AAA show if he wants to go defend his TNA title outside of the company and make it feel like an international flavor of so that's a storyline built right there for Steve Maclin. I kind of enjoy that because now we're going to find out later on where Frankie Kazarian's course goes after the storyline. I don't see another rematch. I don't see them returning their matches together. I think Steve Maclin's next mission is to go after and get that receipt on Messias, who put a hiccup on him, but he got his international title belt. Great job. I loved it it was just an awesome moment there. We saw Trick William with his lawyer running down in the back. You know what? I want to talk about this. Why I brought that up, because there was a promo when he mentioned, he goes, you might have the better story, but I'm better for business. That worried me right there. That put a little doubt on Trick Williams' promo when he mentioned that. Because you know what? When we mentioned it, when we saw ourselves, we're going to peek a little bit behind the curtain. When we saw ourselves that Saturday before the Slammiversary show, we were honored to go and be able part of the softball charity game for TNA did for raising the money for the Little League in Mamaroneck, and Trick Williams showed. Trick Williams was there, part of that charity event. Was so awesome with the TNA roster, with the kids, with the way Carlos Silver was there, the whole And I remember when we were leaving there, I told Chris sitting down before, in our room, and I said, I don't know if Santana's winning because did you see how good he was for business, the way people gravitate. And then when we heard on the UBS, when we heard "Whoop That Trick" and we heard the chorus from the Harlem Chorus come out, we were like, ooh, he's bringing eyeballs. So when he mentioned that comment, Chris, I had a flashback on that conversation we had that time.
Honestly, I didn't think too much about it, but now that you bring that up, yeah, I see why you felt that way. Because is he wrong completely again? As much as we can repeat this all we want. As much as we love Santana, this show is dedicated to Santana. But is Trick 100% wrong? No. So that's why I agree.
Yeah, we got to raise an eyebrow on that there. So I was a little worried. I was telling the chat, I'm 80-20. I still have that 20% chance Trick might retain. So at that point, I was 80-20. It was like, ooh, like that 20%, that sneakiness, that. And I was like, oh man, Trick, you sneaky devil. You threw that comment in there and had my mind thinking, which is good because you know what? I always tell you predictability is fun. It's good. Some people say, oh, it's so predictable. Right? Well, guess what? I tell you this, and I say this many times again if you listen to my show. We know tomorrow the sun's gonna rise again at some places at 7 a.m. We know it's predictable, but what's the story that's gonna happen between that sunrise? It's different. Not every day is the same. Some might be the same. Some might not. There'll be something different along your journey on that day. And that's why. And when I saw that, I was like, it might be predictable, but tell me a story how we're going to get there. That's the way I watch wrestling. And I tell everyone that even if it looks predictable, but enjoy the story how you got to the predictability. That's all. And if it's not the way you envision it, it's not really bad. It's someone else's story that they're telling how they got to that same predictability. That's just me when I watch wrestling. That's just me in the wrestling here. We had a match here. Tessa taking on Gia Miller. Now Tessa comes out total heel with Victoria. Tessa just peacocking all around. I'm gonna say this. Gia Miller comes out with Jody Threat. Holy moly. Gia Miller impressed the crap out of me on her presentation to the ring.
She looked
her wrestling gear, her family in the front. And wow, Gia Miller, kudos. My goodness, that was a great first impression as a competitor, not as a ring announcer, as a wrestling competitor. I'm like, wow, where's this been? How come she's not really wrestling? I know some other people might think that her wrestling was not that great. She missed a cross-body splash where, it's just, it is what it is, when you have a little bit of ring rust, whatever the case is. The match was told. I thought she was gonna I thought Gia Miller was gonna win on a flash pin, on a roll up type of deal. But speaking of roll ups, I didn't know that who uses $10 worth of quarters these days? A whole roll of quarters. I mean, unless if somebody has major shrinkage, they use quarters to stack down there. But Tessa decides she had quarters. All right, I didn't think she was going to need quarters to beat her, but she's a heel. Get the heat as much as possible, Chris. I like it.
Yeah, this was one of those matches that didn't. I'm happy we got to witness the start of this story, because this all started at Slammiversary after Tessa lost her match, and she beat up the Gia Miller, and this is one of those matches that I didn't really care. I wasn't expecting Gia Miller to go into this match looking great or anything, because again, she hasn't wrestled in who knows how long, but she's going into the ring with Tessa, who will make her look very, very good, and that's what she did. The match wasn't long. No. They did a good job of making Tessa look like the bully, with her getting majority of the spots, majority of the punches, majority of all the moves. Obviously, Gia, gets her spots, as that, bully defending herself, whatever. But I liked how Tessa dominated majority of this match. She's the power heel, and you got to keep making her strong and keep booking her like that. And it was smart for her to get the win. And overall, I think they did a good job putting this match together.
Here's the one disconnect I had, Chris. The one disconnect.
Yeah, go ahead.
The one disconnect that I had, Chris, was Victoria when she got involved in the match.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, why in front of the referee? That's the only disconnect I had. Why forget the referee? Why did you do that?
I agree, because it doesn't make, or it would make sense in the sense of having Victoria Crawford out there, not just because she's with Tessa, but she's done, which the segments were really bad, but she did the segments with Gia Miller on her podcast, so it makes sense. She was a part. She helped build this story up when Tessa was suspended, so it made sense. But I agree with, because that should have been automatic DQ right there.
Yeah, and then we had Jody Threat did her swanton on the outside, knocked out security and the rest of the group. All right, that's great. And then it was that distraction. I guess that was to set up the finish with the quarters, because I didn't see where she got the quarters from. She must have had it in her pocket, whatever the case was. But and here's the one thing that I'm gonna say, it kind of hurt it. If they would have said Gia Miller versus Tessa Blanchard in a street fight, but you couldn't have that because you have Hardcore War in the card. You have one last table. You'd want to have something different So they kind of got stuck or pigeonholed in a traditional match where you would have said, all right, it's a street fight. You're not worrying about Gia Miller messing or being rusty on a crossbody. But if that's what we got out of it from Gia, I mean, now you're becoming a little bit nitpicky. Just enjoy it. In a real fight, when you're having a fight, when you're blinded with rage and anger, you don't remember, oh, I got to throw an uppercut, with full body. No, you're going out there just swinging because you want to beat the crap out of someone because you're seeing red. They disrespect you. They are putting your life in a threat, and you're going out there to kick ass. And I thought Gia Miller was gonna, you know what? She's a bigger woman than Tessa. She's gonna cross body and throw her body weight on her, and it just happened to miss. That's the way I see it psychologically when it comes with that, because and I'm okay with it. But the little disconnect was the Victoria. But again, now looking at it, that set up the finish to distract for Jody to get involved, then to get the victory. You know what? 6 minutes, can't complain. They got 6 minutes. You can't complain about it. It was fun. Here's the next match. We're gonna have your call your shot gauntlet. Now, your call your shot gauntlet. We know that Ying Lee was number 1, Mansour number 20. The gauntlet was cool. They had the 2 ladies, Mara Sade, going one-on-one. Then your boy Ryan Nemeth, number 3. I want to talk about that because he entertained the crowd. The ladies were kind of a little bit of a stalemate. We get it. They're the first. No one's gonna get eliminated. Yeah, but then Ryan comes in, and Ryan, I'm like, ooh, he's gonna get intergender. And then Nick, and all hell breaks loose. Mara Sade with the receipt, with the super kick. For those that watch TNA week to week, not some that pretend, or they're going to review it like someone from New York 206. No, this is the story. There's a story. Nick Nemeth kicked her in part of the six in gender match, and she got a receipt on him. Chris, your thoughts until the Nemeths get there?
Until the Nemeths get, I liked it. It's what a gauntlet match, what a battle royal type of match was supposed to be. Again, Ryan's really entertaining when it comes to being a heel. But yeah, until the Nemeths got there, I liked it.
We get all these different people coming in. Jake something. You know what? I like the way they got rid of Jake something. They used some myths from Rosemary Smith, and they got knocked out because Jake something was a powerhouse. He was a wrestler who you're like, damn, who the hell are they gonna get him out there? Also, AJ Francis. I got to give kudos to AJ Francis coming in there. He did. I thought a knockouts was going to win the gauntlet match. I said, you know what? I think a knockout's going to hold it because they want to give a surprise, call your shot to Kelani. And like, ooh, surprise. But no, I thought, this year was going to be a knockouts. I said, you know what? Knockouts might win it. All right, no problem. But I thought AJ Francis, when he took out both of the knockouts, he's getting heat. He's getting heat because the way he tossed Ying Lee and then Mara, I was like, oh, damn. Uncle Phil ain't playing out there. So he was playing, he was, and also Rich Swann. He took his own homie from First Class. Now, First Class is Rich Swann and AJ Francis, not Casey Navarro. They took him out of the show. They took him out due to injury, and they took him out of the First Class. So if you're going to say that and pretend that you're reviewing TNA and you love TNA all of a sudden, make sure you know the storylines well, Mr. 206. Chris, your thoughts?
So
go for it.
They have got to do something to where, first off, is their show this week live? I assume.
No, there is none.
Wow.
There's no show. It's a recap of tonight, of last night's show.
Okay. So, in the next show, wherever we get it, they have got to do something to where they do a match for this Gauntlet Cup between Frankie and Nick Nemeth, because it's not going to work with this dual winner. And we're going to see, and I have it plays into the main event, which I didn't like definitely. That part of it, but it's like, I didn't like that ending, but where they come out. But it's like, how is, I understand you could have them probably fight for it, or one person gets it, cashes it, tries to get it, whatever, and the other person stops it. But it's like, you have got to have one person win. You have got to have one person win this. And you know what? Give it to Frankie. because that's a good first opponent for Santana. Let's say, a good first feud for Santana. For Nick, it's like, to me, I would be worried getting into, maybe not right away, but in the future, I would get worried seeing a long feud with Santana and Nick, because TNA thinks really highly of Nick. He's one of the best wrestlers in the game right now, and we've had the privilege of having him on our show. But he's phenomenal. Like he's great. And him getting into a long-term feud with Santana could possibly worry me a little bit that Santana maybe won't have a long run. I'm not saying he has to have a Roman Reigns run or a Joe or hell. It'd be nice for him to have a Trick Williams length run, but he doesn't even need to do that. But it's like, I don't know. I would try to give this to Frankie, do a one-on-one on like an Impact, maybe on the road to Victory Road or something. Whatever's first, or Turning Point, Victory Road already happened, I meant. So I don't know, something to where, because I don't know how I feel about the dual winners.
You know what? It's funny. I love how, this is why we speak backstage, but this is why we love our show. We have difference of opinion, and we could agree to disagree. I have it the opposite way, though, and I'm going to explain.
Oh.
I think Santana's first feud will be great to go up against a Nick Nemeth, because Nick doesn't really need the title anymore, because you could actually come out of a story where Ryan costs him the opportunity for the TNA World Title, where you could have now, because they look like they're teasing Ryan versus Nick. They already hit each other a couple times with some super kicks and so forth. So we're looking at the two brothers, Owen and Brett, kind of storyline. I wouldn't mind that being Mike Santana's first feud coming first, because it gives a lot of credibility, because Mike is taking on a Nick Nemeth, like you said, one of TNA's best wrestlers, great wrestler, not just TNA, in wrestling general. And Mike right now is on top of the Mount Rushmore of wrestling right now in the current landscape. He's one of the best out there, doing some phenomenal work as well. So you put those two guys now where you're going into a possible new TV deal, and for Genesis or for Turning Point, you got something, oh damn, yeah, I want to see this, and that's why I kind of want to see that. Frankie worries me more, because Frankie Kazarian, his career is winding down. He needs that TNA World Title. I'm afraid with TNA creative and booking, they want to, and the way Mike is so endearing, and he loves wrestling. Mike loves wrestling. He loves respects, honor, everything that has to do with lucha libre, professional wrestling, and wouldn't want to see Mike. You know what? I don't mind giving the title up for Kazarian, because he's a legend. He's on Mount Rushmore. This is all he needs to and. He'll be unselfish in a selfish business, give up the title to Frankie Kazarian to complete him. So that, that's a noble thing. But right now, like people say all the time, wrestling is a little bit selfish business. That's why Frankie Kazarian worries me, because if that's the one man that he still needs. I do want to see Frankie Kazarian as a TNA World Champion. Not right now. I don't want to hot potato the titles right now. And that's just me. That's the way I see it. That's why I love when we conversate, because we have a different of opinion. And that's why this is what makes this show fun, the debate, and no one's being upset, or, you could have the healthy debate and disagree without being tribalistic like other people on X. So that's just my point. Now,
I think that makes perfect sense too. I think it makes perfect sense, because I like how it would transition into Nick and Ryan down the future, and they teased it for a while too. Again, if you actually watch the show, you know that. And again, I like the credibility part. When it comes to Mike Santana and Nick Nemeth on paper, that is a big matchup for TNA. Yeah, and I'll maybe a little bit more, because again, we'll see them later involving Mike Santana. So maybe I can get into a little bit more on that. But it's like it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one because Nick's really good. Nick's really good. Although he doesn't need the title, I still think we are in a world where he gets another run.
Probably correct. And honorable mentions about that Gauntlet Battle Royal. Danny Nuna looked it phenomenal. I mean, she took those super kicks from the Rascals, and she just, oh my goodness, she was phenomenally done. Good job. The hometown man got a huge pop. You know, hometown man with that current run of a gimmick. I mean, awesome. You know, TNA, I love it because it gives you a little bit of everything. It gives you the realism, that story that you want to get into, like a Mike Santana. You know, the viral sensation like a Joe Henry. The gimmick with a hometown man. You know, the Tessa, you know, who's totally nuclear heat. You know, so many different variation. It is a variation show with TNA, and that's why I appreciate it. And we are so much diehard and watch it. We give it that. We love to be there, regardless if it's taped or not, whatever, because they give us that different aspect. They're like a buffet of different wrestling. You want good graps, they'll give you good graps. They want you storytelling, they give you storytelling. They want to give you spot fest or high flying with a little story, they'll give you that. So I appreciate that with TNA. That's why we are a huge TNA enthusiast, and we enjoy this product, this company. I wanted to give that. And then I'm not gonna lie to you, Chris, when that happened, when the dual winners on the watch along, I said I love it because there was something different at the moment. But then, as I said it, and I was talking, and I want to give to Lionel Steele, our guy on the chat, who's been, I think he was my first subscriber ever of all the 20,000 subscribers. I think Delano was my first subscriber, to be honest with you. Well, the first person that commented in my live stream ever 4 years ago and he's been awesome. He said, don't be surprised that they muddy it up and make it a fatal 4-way with the call your shot at the end of the night. And I'm like, oh no, please don't, because Trick Williams is known for having triple threats, fatal 4-way matches, and there's title defenses on his matches. Never a one-on-one match. So when he said that, worried me. When Santino said that's a way, they won a duel, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was worried there at the moment. I was like, they're really going to find a way to not Santana win by someone else in the match getting a pin and Trick getting away with his slide dog. What's going to be a steel cage match to keep everyone in and out. So that's what that came to my mind when the comment was made on my chat. I was like, I said, well, then I said I was going to say it out loud, as long as it happens in Turning Point in Orlando, if I could be there when Mike wins finally. In Orlando, I'm in the building. I'm going to go berserk. You thought I lost my voice in the Performance Center for 24 to 48 hours. I think I lose my voice for a month if that happens me in Turning Point. I mean, but it didn't happen that way. We're still going to find out in a few minutes what happens with the dual title. It's funny, they were tussling and wrestling for the trophy. I didn't know that the application, you have to have the trophy in your hands when you cash it in. I guess it's similar to the Money in the Bank type of deal. You got to grab it and possess it. But didn't they say possession is 9/10 of the law? So I don't know how that's going to work for TNA. That's just a story. That's just story coming out of it so we can start watching the episodic television. See, people might not like it at the moment. I know the crowd in Boston chanted bullshit. I have a lot to say about that Boston crowd. I am very disappointed with the Boston. I'm gonna go with it right now. I thought the Boston crowd in Lowell, Massachusetts sucked. I'm sorry, guys. At least on television, perception-wise, my chat. If you look at we were all saying that they popped for certain spots of the matches. They got good. They got excited for certain, but about 75% of the night they were on their hands. They were quiet. They were dull. I also want to say congratulations if the numbers are exactly 7,794 at the Tonga Center. It looked like the UBS Arena was more full. Now, maybe I don't want to say because you guys were there, you're being biased. I felt the crowd was more vibrant, most lively, was more exciting at Slammiversary than for Glory. It's still a great moment. It's still a celebration of our guy winning the world title, but I felt the crowd did not live up. And I knew that when Mike was going to win, there was a lot of flags. Yes, we're going to get into that, but I didn't feel that the crowd really, I don't know. I felt something was a little off when it came to the crowd, Chris, especially for the Kelani Jordan and Indy Hartwell match. We have these two women coming out. I don't know if the crowd didn't know who to cheer for or who to gravitate to. They kept a lot of quiet. They didn't know, it was the part like, God, ladies, work a little faster, because when you do the headlock for the crowd, you're not getting the crowd reaction. Indy wanted to get the crowd going. She didn't, because, you know, there was TNA chants, NXT chants. Your thoughts? I thought the match was good. I knew the outcome because I knew that I kind of feel the outcome. But your thoughts on the whole match with Kelani and Indy, where Kelani defends her Knockouts title?
I really didn't think it was a bad match. I thought it was fine. I really did. I thought Kelani looked good, and I thought, you know, I thought she kind of brought the best out of Indy. I know people aren't as high on Kelani, and I'm not that high on Kelani in terms of personality or character or whatever. But when it comes to having a good match, I think Kelani, I think she's really good. I think she's pretty damn good. One of the best that NXT women's roster has to offer. And Indy kind of needed an opponent like that. There's nobody on that roster besides Tessa, who she already fought, to really give her a challenge, give her a good match on a pay-per-view that's actually meaningful. And that's no disrespect to Jody Threat or Danny Luna or anybody like that, but because she's been, you know, kind of messing and feuding with them, you know, recently. But I think even Indy knew it at the end where Kelani wins and Indy kind of, you know, raises her hand there. I think even Indy knew she brought the best out of her. So I'm curious to see what's next for Kelani Jordan in TNA. I guess it's not a one-off. I guess it's not a short-term thing. I guess it's, you know, maybe it was one of those things where they filled her in, and now they're like, okay, let's see what we can do with you. Let's just not fill you in and move on. Maybe they're trying to see what they could do with her. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Kelani in terms of her holding that title, who she's going to feud with, etc. But this match was good. This match was a good women's championship match.
Chris, let me ask this question. I ask everyone that's listening, and I ask this question: what do you want someone that holds a world title do? What does Gunther get a lot of credit to do with the Intercontinental title or the World Heavyweight title? He elevated the title. Am I correct?
I would
That's
say
what you
so,
want your
especially
wrestler
that
to do.
Intercontinental title. Yeah, to me,
Any wrestler.
How you do that, and you know, is you defend it. I'm very big on defending your titles. I'm not saying go out there every week and do an open challenge like Sami Zayn does over on the other program. No, I'm not saying you do that. I'm saying you defend it with meaningful storylines. You defend it, you know, every pay-per-view, not every but you know, you're consistent. It makes sense. You represent that title well, you know, outside of the ring, you know. I think Kalani's she's good, and that's the thing about NXT. I understand why we don't like NXT wrestlers gaining these championships, because obviously we're Team TNA, but it's like she was the first North American champion for a reason, and she elevated that damn championship.
That's the word I was coming out of your mouth. When you want someone to grab whatever title, it doesn't matter who it is, if they could elevate that world title, that status, that prestige of that division, of that current title that they hold, whether it's a knockouts title, whether it's a tag team title, whether it's a digital media title, whether it's an international title, the list goes on. Whatever title they hold, if they could elevate the division and the competition around them, they've done their job. I think Trick Williams helped elevate the NXT title along by now being part of the TNA roster, becoming TNA World Champion. He's elevated. Also, I see like Nick Nemeth had that world title from when Joe Henry took it from him. He was like, "Oh wow, you're passing a great mantle." I think here with JC Jane, did she really elevate the Knockouts title where everyone celebrated Ash? But I don't know if Ash was going to elevate that division with the other Knockouts around them. Kalani, there's going to be story because now the Knockouts are rallying to try to take another title and replicate the Mike Santana story via the Knockouts storyline. Who is the lady who's going to go through hard times? You know, like I said, the bookers, Tommy Dreamer and company, they subscribe to that Dusty Rhodes because he isn't a big admirer of Dusty Rhodes. You know, Tommy Dreamer said it many times on the air. The hard times, the babyface not winning immediately, going through a struggle, going through an uphill climb to win that and get that payoff. Finally. Now, some of us could agree or disagree that he waits a little too long to pull the trigger. And you could say, yes, we could agree to that. We could agree at times he might wait too long. My point is, Kalani's going to help elevate the TNA Knockouts champion, because I think when she had that match at Turning Point, the way she was and the way she conducted herself on TNA, on NXT TV, being so gracious, respectful to the brand, I think opened up the eyes on TNA brass and say, you know what? I think this girl has got the right tools. Right now, her wrestling in ring is not poor. She's really great in the ring, and she checks a lot of boxes where right now TNA doesn't have that yet, and I think they're going to let her run with the title right now. I think when we look back at it, I think Kalani's going to be good for business when it comes to TNA, TNA Knockouts division. I don't think there's anyone there yet to be the face of the women's division.
Exactly.
As much as I love Indy, I don't think she's there yet.
You nailed it right on the money. They won't pull the trigger with Tessa, and you don't have a Jordan Grace there anymore. So that is why they don't know what to do with this Knockouts title, because JC's not the face of. That's why JC had that long title, because she's the face of NXT. You might as well make her the face of your Knockouts division for a hot minute until you find somebody. They have nobody to be the face, and you know what? They had somebody. A, she can't cut a promo for shit, and B, we might not see her again. So I'm talking about Masha. So I don't know. I don't know. Their Knockouts division's in trouble, and I'm not talking about in trouble in terms of they don't know, they can't book matches, they don't have enough talent. No. They have plenty of that. They don't have a standout. They don't have enough standouts like the Joe Hendrys, the Mike Santanas. And let's take Trick Williams aside, because that whole men's roster, they're stacked. You have both the fucking Hardys there. First off, you can make either one of them individual, and they're arguably a bigger star than anybody on the show. And then you got Santana, who's uber hot, and then you have Joe Hendry, who's out the door in a couple months. But you get my point. You have so many good people on that, and you have multiple people with Neon doing this thing, who we're gonna talk about, who had the match of the night, in my opinion. And they have people that they could use and renegotiate when it comes to, because there's a lot of contracts coming up at the end of this year, according to all these reports I'm seeing. Like half that damn rosters, their contracts are up in like November, December. So they're going to have to really sit down. Silva, Dreamer, everybody back there, they're going to have to sit down, and who can we pull the trigger on? And that could be the face of this Knockouts division. And they're going to, and right now they don't have anybody, in my opinion. Now you could,
I agree with you.
Now that they could do Indy, because she's been in the WWE, which means she's well recognized. She didn't change her name. She's still Indy Hartwell, which I'm surprised. So she has that going for her. She is Australian, which means, a whole other market will, be attracted to her. She's really seasoned in the business. Like, she knows how to work. She has a good name for herself. You could easily do it. It's just you can't do that right now. She's newer to the company. She hasn't had enough feuds, matches under her belt to make TNA fans, kind of think of her as, a face of their company. It's still, she's new, and she doesn't have that superstar status enough to where she can just go into a company and automatically change it. So they're gonna have to see. They're gonna have to see.
Yeah, and maybe we're speculating. We don't have any concrete evidence. Maybe that's why they're taking a little bit of a hiatus. They're probably in negotiations right now. They're probably TNA brass. They just had their Super Bowl of TNA Wrestling in Bound for Glory. Now they're in War Room with the executives, with Finn trying to wrap up a television deal. who do we plan on re-signing, who are we not planning to re-sign, who we want to keep, are we going to set out an offer, how much we're willing to get, extend contracts and so, and then they could go into a couple of weeks and start writing storylines for the wrestlers that are going to remain, that says, yeah, I'm going to resign, and or not get into a major program with a wrestler in a couple of weeks will depart, and then then you have loopholes, and then they look foolish because wait a minute, wasn't, and then no longer this is a deal. They have to explain the why and the what and the how. So maybe that's why they're taking this little bit of a hiatus to retool, revamp, and see where they're going to go creative with their storylines. Mike is the world champion. What next? Where are we going to go with this and that? So I think that's why they're taking a little bit of a hiatus there, because they could have easily booked something in Lowell, Massachusetts for the next couple, record or go live Thursday somewhere. They could have even used the Performance Center, which was rumored for them to use this Thursday to go live from the Performance Center. But I don't know if they're gonna, best thing they do is go for that recap, revamp for a couple weeks, and then see where they go from there. Who knows, where they go. I know we all know they're going to be in Orlando from the 13th, 14th, 15th. They're going to have Turning Point live. Maybe that's when they return, when they go back live to Orlando, then Turning Point, then a couple of tapings into Paso, Texas, and then they'll finish off into Genesis, start off with Genesis. Who knows what happens for them with TNA. I know for sure we're going to see them representative in NXT on Tuesday nights. So we'll see where that goes for TNA. Let's talk about, and I want to talk about this, though. We mentioned about no Joe Henry in this Bound for Glory at all. Not even, no mention here. Interesting. The whole night, 4 hours, no Joe Henry mentioned whatsoever. Now, I thought he was going to be for sure in the Gauntlet. Nothing. They decided to put a YouTuber. They put a YouTuber in instead. Look, the people reacted and enjoyed it. They liked it on X. You saw the reactionary podcasters react for the YouTuber because they want one day to be one of them themselves. Listen, we were told by a high executive, no name be given, off the said that people you should see the amount of requests that he gets for TNA from 30-minute matches, segments. And I thought he was being joking when he thought I was going to request 30 minutes. I'm like, no, I just want to have a conversation with so-and-so on our platform. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me one bit that we seen that happen. Someone caved in, but it is what it is. Let's go into the hardcore war. Speaking of war, hardcore war, the system, Order 4, 20-minute hardcore war. Some people didn't like it, thought it was trash. I saw some tweets, trash on the Alicia Edwards spots with the thumbtacks where Agent Zero chokeslammed her there. I thought that was a really good war. I thought that was a great match. I thought if you're respecting for technical graps, I don't know, you're not reading the title of the match or the match stipulation correctly. It was a war. It was a hardcore war with a lot of hardcore stuff. The barbed wire kendo stick. Agent Zero. Your impressions of seeing Agent Zero. I think they booked him correctly.
Yeah, they made him look too dominant, which is good, which is they were supposed to do. I like this match. It was different. You got all the members here of Order 4 in the system, including the female participants, and this was something on the match that, we're gonna get some things. We know we're gonna get some table spots and stuff like that with the Hardys and 3D, but not to the extent of this. I think everybody here did really well. They each got kind of their spot to shine. Mustafa looked really well in the match. Special Agent Zero, obviously he's the one to keep the eye out for in the future. I was shocked when the system won, though. I was pretty shocked the system getting that win.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Yeah, I was shocked. That's the only thing I really got. But I liked it. It was, it's what it was. Like you said, it was a hardcore war. It's in the name. It's what you expected. The outcome's really the only shocking part.
But you know what? I was surprised that Order 4 lost, but the way they lost, I'm not gonna complain about it. You got the hometown man or the hometown son hit with the Boston knee party out of all, with the barbed wire wrapped around his knee for the victory. I'm good with it. Eddie Edwards is a OG of TNA as well. You got to also protect the OG, especially when you have a lot of these TNA wrestlers winning the title and catering to the top spot. You got to give these callbacks to your Mount Rushmore, your guys who, the people that have been in the trenches with you, growing the product through the good times and the bad times, especially in Massachusetts, back home. Good to see in the beginning when Alicia walks out with Eddie Edwards' daughter and sends him off to battle. That was a great moment there. We got to see see the family there, the Edwards family. That was a nice moment there. Going forward, I like the whole match because I gotta give this props. Bully says this on his show, and I gotta give him props for that. They didn't do a redundant spot in this hardcore war. They didn't even think about bringing on a table. They used other weapons, and nothing was redundant. And I appreciate that with TNA Wrestling. That's called production meetings. That those agents, those bookers, they all had production meetings, and they didn't give us something redundant again. I got to give them a lot of credit and props that they kept us. That's why the show kept going well, flowing well, because it was something different. It wasn't repetitive. Guess again, I appreciate that. Hardcore War was really another one. It was just a chaotic. It wasn't going to get any 6 stars rating. It was just a brutal war between two factions that were going to break off, or is going to finally come to their storyline blow. Unless if Moose is going to Agent Zero, maybe there's money on the table with those two. Moose with the chain around his shoulders, with the tackle, with the spear. I'm like, whoa. Moose looked like a badass again coming in. Loved it. Great job there. Let's talk about the match of the night contender and possibly TNA's match of the year. Which is the young OG, Javon Evans taking on the young bruv, Leon Edwards, your X Division champion, like we like to call him, the young bruv. The crowd was wild from the start, from the beginning. They were chanting, "This is awesome," before they'd even touch. Both guys teased a big strike for one another. They were mocking each other's opponents, cover up in panic. Leon Slater, Javon Evans with the small package near finishes, their counter moves. They had like a 6 counter moves reversal sequence between those guys. All in all, they took us on a roller coaster of emotion, Chris, of back and forth. Like, who the hell is going to win? From the spot where you thought Javon was going to chop Leon, he goes, come on. And then he fakes him with the stunner. I said, oh, snap, he's going to steal victory. I thought that was the finish. Yes, we had some controversy, the time limit draw. That's a way of saving and safe 2 wrestlers. I know the crowd was booing, and Santino felt that he had to come out there and get the crowd back going. That's the first few times that they actually show the pulse, this crowd, with that match. And then Dark State comes out and ruins this. Your thoughts? I know you had a lot to say. That's why I'm gonna.
First off, on Dark State, I'm not gonna speak on Dark State right now. This match, because that was just fucking ridiculous for them to even come out there in the first place. This match gave me Will Ospreay and Mike Bailey vibes. You have this match on the show that's you get a little bit of everything, and this was the spot fest, as people like to call them, right? This reminded me of like an Ospreay and Bailey type of thing. This match was phenomenal. I love this. This was like I'm not gonna say an AEW style match, but everyone knows I like that what they do, that style, this style, I love. And I think we knew for so long, especially you have been saying that these two were gonna tear it down whenever they go one-on-one with each other. And this was great. Every show, this show, I'm not going to say every show, but this show was the perfect show for these two to kind of show what they could do. Because again, we're getting a little bit of everything on this card. A tag team tables match, we got a technical battle in the beginning. We're getting battle royal style matches. This was a great match for Leon and Javon to stand out and really have their match kind of, like I just said, stand out. That's the best word I could say. Stand out rather than the other ones. That's exactly what they did. I thought Javon was going to win at certain points of this match. I guess they did a good job of, doing the false finishes where, they had you really thinking anybody was going to win. I liked a lot of the reversals, Javon going up and then Leon kind of doing that like tuck pin right here. Like that was great. I can't really explain it without really like showing it. That was great. Obviously Leon doing that move where he jumps over the ropes outside was good. I mean, these two guys teared it down. Yes, I think this is TNA's best match of the year. I don't like Dark State coming out, and that's where I have a huge fucking disconnect, because why? What does TNA, Shawn Michaels, NXT, what do they see in these fucking guys, man? They're a bunch of nobodies. They're a bunch of nobodies. It makes no sense for these guys interfering with singles championship competition. None of these guys are ever going to win a fucking singles match, a world title. You can't win a world title with 4-5 guys. I mean, first 1 second, it's because of Javon, which I understand. And I understand it could make sense, right? They've appeared on TNA. I get it. But just why? What's the end game for Dark State? What's the end game for them coming in and interfering with these matches? They do it on NXT all the time, and now they're doing it on TNA, and it never leads to anything. Them and Trick didn't lead. It would have made more sense to see Dark State during the Trick and Santana match. If you really want these clowns to go out there and makes and do something, it would have made more sense to go out there, and we still have not gotten anywhere with that, with Trick him teasing them. We know we haven't gotten any of it. I don't understand what the goal or what they're trying to do with Dark State. Why are they interfering with? This is like Gargano getting in the way of Trick in his TNA title. What does that? Why? You guys, I understand there's no trios or quadruples, tag team championships to go after, but it's like, come on. You don't have a guy in the group that's the standout that's going to challenge for anything. What is the plan with Dark State? Why are they getting involved in these matches? That was the only thing that I hated about this match.
And here's my disconnect, Chris. Why is Dark State coming out there? If anything, if they have an issue, it was with the Hardys. They just lost the tag team titles to the Hardy Boys.
That
if
too.
Anything, they should have interfered in. If they were going to interfere, why did you interfere in the Hardys? Logically wise, if you were going to be there, it was against the Hardys, not against the X Division title and Leon and Javon Evans.
Fair, yes.
But okay, if I would have seen a Josh Briggs who has some issue or quarrel with, or even a Jasper Troy comes out and gets involved in that, where helps a Leon, and like, why? Oh damn, Jasper's like, no, you're not the young one. You could have said where, hear me out with a little creative. I'm trying to put on a little bit of creative pencil. Jasper Troy comes out, whatever, and he attacks Javon, where the referee doesn't see, whatever the case, and causes that distraction where Leon wins, and then on TNA, on NXT television, whenever they come live, Jasper says, you guys want to be the young wrestler of this business. I'm the monster. I'm the young monster of this business. Neither one of you. I want, you weren't going to win before. You wasn't winning, Javon. I'm going to show you I'm the youngest monster in NXT. I don't know, because it's Halloween Havoc. You could, just where it could make sense in a promo. But Dark State attacking Javon, I mean, even if Javon teams up with Leon, gets his back, it's still 4-on-2. Disconnect. That's the only thing I gotta say right there. It's a little bit of a disconnect. Yeah. So a Jasper Troy would have made a little more sense if you want to really incorporate an NXT wrestler to attack Javon when you could pay it off on NXT television, causing Javon to lose that title. I think would have been a good one for a Jasper Troy, in my opinion. I don't know, Alexis King, whatever. I don't know. They will know Alexis is too busy with Travion, and he has his own storyline. Jasper has nothing. That's why I went to him, because he's also young, one of the young guys from LFG, young kid. You could have threw him in there and done something creative around that aspect, but they went with that route. Kind of was a little bit of a disconnect when it comes to Dark State. Again, we want to be unbiased. We don't like them. We want to be totally, frankly honest. I don't like them. I still think two of the wrestlers, Griffin, Osias Griffin, with his height and his look, could be really someone that could really market as a star, as well as the Urkel looking kid. Forget his name. The one that gets he's Leon Lelix. There you go, Leon Lelix. Let me make it the Stefano Cal. I know ladies think he's a heartthrob. But the other two, I don't really see I don't see them, getting past, the NXT level. I'm gonna be brutally honest. Prove me wrong, fellas. Prove me wrong, because I would just come up here and say, damn, I was wrong. I don't see them going to that next level in the main roster. I think we know their ceiling for Dark State. I thought the other two, I think there is, because of the height. You can't teach height, and you can't teach that look that they have. But my point is, they're not connecting right now for Dark State, in my opinion. We'll move on here. Chris Bay. I love to see that they sent Chris Bay out. Boy, when I see Chris Bay, I'm glad that he's doing well. I'm glad that he's in good spirit. I'm glad to see him there. But damn, I keep saying, what a waste of a talent for Ace Austin. Yes, you made that good money, but I think Ace Austin is a talent being wasted that is not utilized yet at All Elite Wrestling. And I'm not saying, because if you would have been glazing and we went to WWE, I don't even think NXT I don't know if NXT would have used him properly either. I think TNA was the proper place. They would have, he could easily be a face of the international title, or so forth, whatever the case is, for Ace Austin. But we're talking about Chris Bay. Great to see him out there. You've seen there, he announced the attendance crowd, 7,794. I don't know. I love you, TNA, but I don't think you outdrew the what you call it, the UBS arena. I think UBS had more, although on number wise it says it's more higher. But I did see a lot of blue seats. I saw a lot of people not sitting in a couple seats on TV. That's just me.
It
was packed. It was packed. Don't get me wrong. Could it be 6,500? Yes, but I don't think that's 7,794. I don't know, man. I'm having a hard time making that. I'm having a hard time. I don't want to sound negative. It might sound like a negative. Like, just did, at least vocally, they didn't sound like 7,700 plus vocally. Let's go right into it, where it felt like everybody wanted to see this match in the arena. The tickets were moved and wanted to see one last table between the Hardys and the Dudleys. Now with NXT title on the line, TNA title on the line, I thought the House of Glory titles were going to be on the line, because I thought Jeff mentioned something on his post. Their newly won. I thought they were going to put all those 3 titles, and no mention no more of the 4th rope titles. I don't know what happened to that partnership, if that dissolved or didn't go anywhere, but it was 2 titles there, unless they don't want the 4th rope brand together mixing. I don't know what might digress. The match starts. I saw that Spike Dudley comes out. Nice homage there. A lot of ECW homage. We saw little Guido in the Gauntlet as a manager. Also took a bump there. Reminds us why you don't take bumps anymore. But your thoughts on the last table match? I thought when the Dudley started off hot quickly, I was like, oh shit, they're gonna squash the Hardys that quick. I was like, damn. I said, get it out now while you're fresh, rejuvenated, because as long as the match goes, you're not going to be crisp and sharp to do your moves. So I thought the Dudleys started off hot.
I did too. I know we clowned this because we were at the UBS when Bully came out, and we were like, what? Like, what? Whatever. They did it, and I thought this was done well. I'll be honest, I thought this was done good. Because now there are a couple things that I thought were unnecessary, but a lot of people were criticizing the ending. I thought that ending was fine, because you had Bubba saying, end us, like we're done, like end it, like we're done, like end us, like it was like a Ric Flair and Shawn type of thing, not obviously not in that extent, but he stood there and said, end it, guys, we're ready, we surrendered. He surrendered, the Dudleys surrendered, and it was an emotional moment, especially at the end there, and I think the crowd gave the Team 3D, the Dudleys, a well deserved ovation at the end. Shout out to Devon. I mean, I think he did more than he needed to, than I expected him to, honestly. There were some spots where I was like, wait, he didn't look bad, bro. Like, that's the thing. Like, I kind of expected Devon to, like, kind of be like that odd, out of the fourth guy. Like, he didn't look perfect. He was a little slow, but he really did not look bad for somebody who's, gone through what he's been going through recently and hasn't wrestled in forever. Like, he did not look, bad at all. And, I thought, even the table spots where, where I think it was Jeff who did that one, spot off the rope, and Devon moved quick and Jeff went through the table. I was like, damn, like Devon actually, like, now unnecessary. Jeff Hardy, this message is for you because I love you. We do not need you doing swanton bombs off ladders onto the Dudley Boys in 2025. We don't need it. You guys have been on a freaking roll right now. You guys just won the NXT titles. You guys are double champions. You guys are still one of the only active tag teams who are really legends. I mean, people like to throw that word loosely. No, these two are legit legends. And we do not need that run to stop now. So stop doing that shit. Now, if the Dudleys and Bubba want to do a 3D bomb, Team 3D, whatever, off of whatever, that's them. They're we won't see them after this. But other than that, no, this was good. This was Cena and Styles over the weekend had a love letter to pro wrestling. This is a love letter to tag team wrestling. And again, criticize the ending all you want, but it was perfect. End it. We're done. We surrender. And they had a great moment at the end of the match. For somebody for us who, we didn't want to see it, we clown bully all the time. This was good.
I agree with you. For him saying he put it down at first,
real quick. I'm still gonna lose my shit on Busted Open when. Did you see how good we were on Sunday? I mean, I didn't listen to it, so I don't know. Maybe he already did. But did you see how good I was?
Thank you for the house, Uncle Billy. Yeah, thank you for that. All the talent. The boys in the back said, "Thank you for the house, Uncle Billy. Thank you for the house."
We should have made a vow. You know what? I should have went up to Trick and Santana and said, "You know what, boys? We're getting the main
follow
event
that
tonight."
Now follow that.
No, that was good. That was good. I like the match.
I like the fact that he knew he's at the end of the line already. His partner already went through the table. He's the last remaining line of defense, and you know what? Put me out to greener pastures. Put me. But when they put their chairs down and they had that moment of sympathy, I was like, oh, Bully is an asshole. Character wise, he's a villain, a heel of all heels, and I'm like, don't put your guard down. All he has to do is put one of you through the table, and you could come with a ruse, and all of a sudden, Bully wants to get booze and hate, because they're going to send the fans home happy. So before you send them home happy, you want them to feel sad or upset, irate. And I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna put Matt through the tables, and they're gonna win their tag team titles. Oh, I thought at that moment, because he's that type of heel. Bravo, Bully, for actually putting us there and having that doubt when your intentions were to get to surrender. So bravo, you fooled, in the days where everybody is a lot of know-it-alls and don't know nothing, like words that you like to say on Busted Open. That was a good one. I liked it. People are complaining. I don't know, again, what do you wanted them to do? You wanted them. I thought it was fine. Just, you know what? I love you. And that was a Ric Flair moment where Shawn Michaels hit him with the super kick. The Hardys had compassion, and they put an old nemesis through a table to become the greatest tag teams of this modern history, this modern time of wrestling. And kudos, I loved it. I enjoyed it. The one thing that got me personally, emotionally, it was a night of a lot of emotions, from Mickie James being inducted in the Hall of Fame to seeing all the women, all women Hall of Fame. You know, as much as we spoke here about how much we champion women's wrestling independence and all that, to see the boots, the way they handed their boots over to the Hardys, and then that picture of them all embracing with that, I was like, damn. And that was just that broke a little bit, because they're not going to be seen anymore. That's it. They're done. They're like, ooh, you know, everyone who performs want to hear the roar of the crowd, the admiration of the arenas, and they live for that adrenaline, that high. And there's nothing after that in life that's going to resonate to them, and they're not going to be able to hear that anymore. You know, they already are in Hall of Fames, so they're not. It's not like they're going, all right, we'll see you. You'll hear that one more roar when we see you in the Hall of Fame. For those guys, as an in-ring competitor, that's it. And I was like, man, that kind of, and then seeing them walk away together as brothers, walking away through the curtain at the end, I was like, ooh, it felt bad for them. And you know, you have to have some compassion and respect is the right word for what they provided to the wrestling business and the wrestling industry for the Dudleys. Yeah, you know, kudos. And I'm glad that his family got to see it. His young daughter for Devon, and his wife and his son, they got to see that and experience them up close and personal. And you know, maybe that's a chapter that's closed for Devon's family, you know, going forward. So that's pretty cool. Yes, we're gonna get to the main event, but I want you to hear a quick second from our sponsor. So from Dude Wipes, who is our sponsor, it's pumpkin dive season, and we got a little word from Dude Wipes.
Dude Wipes. The leaves may be falling and the dumps are calling. Dumpkin spice season is here.
Thank you, Dude Wipes, for sponsoring today's program. Let's go right into it, man. What we've been talking to, what we're celebrating, when we started the show, celebrating the main event. We're recapping. We ride and die with Mike Santana from the entrance. I'm going to say this. I love the Taino war paint that he came out with. Oh, my God. I was so excited. Goosebumps. You know, when I saw Mike Santana show up, I just channeled this.
And chills.
Chills, Chris. Seeing that Taino war paint coming out and seeing there and then the flag. I like that I don't know if that was planted with the amount of people with the Puerto Rican flags, what that was given out or not, but it was a nice section behind commentary. You know, with all those people, that whole front there was, but it wasn't the C. It wasn't the C of Puerto Rican flag we saw in the UBS Arena.
To me, you know, it's gonna hate me to say this, man. But first off, there were so many that somebody left theirs outside. Like, okay. The only thing I'm gonna say before you review the match is, how come that was the only spot we saw him? When we were at the UBS, they were spread out the entire arena. Our section had him, the section next to us, the section so on and so forth. Why was it just those people behind a camera production, behind the announce table? I don't know.
You know, also that pissed me off when Mackenzie Mitchell from Bronx, New York, and we got booed. When I heard the Bronx, New York got booed, I was so I'm gonna curse.
I'll be honest. I was doing stuff in the background. I didn't have the sound on. I didn't even hear that. I just had the matches. I didn't even have the sound.
That's why I was so against him. Oh, he's gonna get in Bound for Glory. Don't worry, he's gonna win it. In Lowell, Massachusetts, you're gonna have a native Bronx, where the home of the New York Yankees. When you mention the word Bronx in Boston and Massachusetts, you're gonna have him. Where was the thought process? Where was the thought process of the booker, of the people thinking? You're gonna have you think they were gonna cheer?
The fact that Booker's from Yonkers too.
I'm like,
He's from New
bro,
York. Like, he should know better.
you should know better. No way in hell they were going to cheer someone from the Bronx, New York. When they say from the Bronx, New York, they were not going to cheer it. They booed it. Pissed me off. I'm like, the place that you saw the entrance from Slammiversary to exploded.
Bro, they had a whole
Exploded.
section of
Sea
people
of
from the
Puerto
Bronx,
Rican
and we talked. It's not what we saw. It's who we talked to. Oh, half the people that we met. I mean, we knew them previously. You know, we met them, interviewed them, but they're all Puerto Rican. I would say 85% of the people we met at Slammiversary were Puerto Rican, supporting Mike Santana. We saw it everywhere. The Subway Mania guys,
and I think, and we're not
90% of them are Puerto Rican, and they were all there. The Uptown, I mean, like, we could argue and debate. I think that's good. I still think we're gonna be talking about that one for a while. Should have they given the time? Because they gave it to him last night, and we're happy and all this stuff, but we're still sitting here talking about what if they gave it to him in New York. That right there should kind of raise TNA.
Here's the one thing. Hindsight is 2020. This is a simple Monday morning quarterback. Hindsight is 2020. In a perfect world, we're not in a perfect world, guys. I get it. This Lowell, Massachusetts should have been Slammiversary, and UBS should have been Bound for Glory. But they don't know that. We don't know that. We didn't know what storylines we're going to implement and how it was going to run. But they did know the venues. Because since my channel here on the Sports Jedi Network on YouTube, if you go to any one of the TNA, because we do TNA every week, we're not a fly-by-night now it's hot and I'm going to review TNA now. All of a sudden, no, we've been doing reviews, watch-alongs of TNA Wrestling since 2023, 22. The Queen of the Ring Mountain match that I always talk about with Deonna Purrazzo, and Chelsea taking that spot off the top onto the table on the floor, where we had Mia Yim there. You had Hardcore Country. You had Jordan Grace. That's when I fell in love with TNA. I said I was closed-minded WWE guy, and that match there made me fall in love with it, called Nonstop Total Action, TNA Wrestling. I mean, I covered it, after that over and over, because those ladies drew me in, and then all the concept of everyone else, all the matches. I'm getting back to my story. What I was going to say was, I think they January of 2025, when they mentioned UBS Arena in July for TNA Wrestling, I told you, Chris, and Chris was new to the channel, Mike Santana is winning the world title there. I don't know who's the world champion. I don't know who. It just makes sense. The hometown, he's from New York. He's rising. He had that feud with Mustafa Ali. Then he got rid of, he went through the whole gauntlet of the system. The story was building. He was ascending like a roller coaster. He was ascending. Then Joe Henry loses to Trick Williams. I said they're going to go with that way. And then when they had that stare down in the hallway at NXT, Mike Santana and Trick Williams, I'm like, oh, they're teasing it. And then they some reason did the most dumbest creative stuff, where they didn't give Joe Henry his rematch clause immediately. They put Elijah in there, and they certainly, Elijah gets hurt. They got lucky that, like, you even heard it from Mike Santana himself when we interviewed him. It was the people who your voices made my name be put on that card at UBS Arena, said by his mouth, by Mike Santana, that we want Mike. We want Mike Santana movement, and they put him in there. They should have pulled the trigger there. Now, it did. We are so thankful, appreciative that Mike completed and won that match, won that TNA World Title. Maybe things happen for a good reason. Right now, short term wise, I still think Slammiversary was the right spot for him, because I think that, talk about all those New Yorkers would have probably purchased TNA Plus apps. They would have been going bananas. And you know what? I'm going to say this. It showed there was no faith or confidence the following live event in Rhode Island. That was a stinker. Rhode Island, attendance-wise, was a stinker. It did not live up to the hype coming after Slammiversary. You thought that, thank God for emergence. Thank God for the storyline going into Minneapolis, Minnesota. Also, the working with TNA, with NXT, going crossover, kept the momentum to Bound for Glory. Announcing the Dudleys and the Hardys also helped. I'm not gonna lie about that, and they built it properly. But they were in some trouble fumbling that, Chris. If they, I don't know. Do you think they'll get on track with 7,700 if they didn't have Dudleys and Hardys? As much as we clowned it, let's face it, they had a lot of contribution to that attendance.
100%. I mean, that was really the first match that was announced for the show, and tickets were flying already when they got on sale, and that was really the only match announced. So I agree. Again, I think it's going to be one of those things that we're going to bring up for a long time, especially since we were there and we experienced that weekend. They could have done it there, but I guess the chase, it made people get more and fall more in love with Mike Santana's story and get more people behind him. But at the same time, what's the bigger market, Lowell, Massachusetts, or Long Island, New York? Just in general, right? The Massachusetts, New York. It's New York. And again, like Kev alluded to, a lot of those people probably would have gotten TNA Plus, all that stuff, because a lot of the people there, I don't even think were really TNA fans. They were just fans of pro wrestling and probably just wanted to see Mike Santana, win, because that match was so, talked about. And that's another thing when it comes to, which show was bigger or what. When did we see really anybody but Santana and specifically do anything media big media? For Slammiversary, we had AJ Francis fresh out of Slammiversary, the Hardys, Santana, Silva all went on Ariel Hawaii, and I'm bringing him up because he has one of the bigger platforms in New York City. Busted Open, which is a Sirius XM platform. I mean, the way that Slammiversary was just promoted doesn't even compare to Bound for Glory. So even the traction wise, now a lot of people watched it Bound for Glory, like it's a big pay-per-view, but they made Slammiversary feel like what Bound for Glory is supposed to feel like this year. That is kind of what hurts. That's what hurts it, in my opinion. Now the match was fine. I mean, there was it was a good match, but I want to say this. I want to talk about what happened after real quick, because why the hell are you already we went through all this shit for Santana to finally win his championship, and you're already teasing Frankie Kazarian and Nick Nemeth cashing in that fucking Gauntlet Cup. I've never been so happy to hear those same three damn chords in my life last night. And I was like, oh, thank God, because you shouldn't even be teasing this while Santana is having his moment. But I don't understand that. You did not need to have Frankie and Nick go out there at all. That was the only thing. I didn't like that. But shout out to Elias. He's back. That's gonna be, maybe a match we see down the future with Santana and Elijah. But no, obviously, we started off talking heavy about it. I'm happy. I'm excited. He finally did it. We're gonna see where it goes. They arguably should have done it at Slammiversary. Now, here's the question: what's next for Trick Williams, guys? I think we talked a lot about Santana. What's next for Trick?
Yeah.
What is next for Trick? Does he get called up to the main roster? Does he get called? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I want to get this here though. I wanted to mention this before we jump out of the subject. I want to stick with this real quick. We're gonna get to that Trick because here's this. I was so freaking nervous when they were fighting out throughout the arena, and Daniel Spencer doesn't ring the freaking bell. Yo, what are you waiting for? Ring the bell. Make the match official.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, we need them throwing the match out. I was screaming. I wanted the match to be official. I'm like, but I like the fact that they fought on the outside. They did the tour of the arena to show, the place was full, all that stuff. You saw a few, had people there and all that good stuff. They did a good job there. But when they got into the ring, I had anxiety because I wanted the match to start, make it official. And then when Trick started off hot, I was like, no way they're gonna make Mike lose like in a squash like this, because they already flew, because especially they flew Indy Hartwell's parents all the way from Australia, all across the world.
Yeah.
Failed.
Yeah.
I was like, ugh. Unless hey, I hope that TNA picked up the tab, at least upgraded them to first class. I was like, ugh. But I was like, oh my god. And then of course we see Ariana in the front row, his daughter, good shot there. Great moment, like you said. And then you see me on the watch, and I put the clip. I was like, no, because I'm not gonna lie, before I went live, I saw the clip where Josh Alexander wins the TNA World Title, and Moose cashes in the call your shot, and Josh loses it because Moose spears him, and of course Josh is protecting his son and his wife to move out, and he loses the title. I was like, oh. And then Delano mentioned a fatal 4-way where, cashing in. I was like, you know what? Shit. And then you see Nick Nemeth, who has one of the greatest cash-ins in professional wrestling history, in the Money in the Bank. You're like, oh my goodness. The cards were getting stacked. I'm with you. I was like, yo, can our guy have a moment celebrating the title? Because I did say that, man. I hope he doesn't get CM Punk'd. 5 minutes with the title, and then he drops it, and then he had the title. Technically, he was your champion. But and I go, yeah. Then I said this on the stream. Well, I'm gonna be selfish, guys. If Mike doesn't win the title and he gets CM Punk tonight, where they cash in on him, he better win it at Turning Point, where I'm in the building. That's all I said. If that's gonna happen, I need him to win it at Turning Point. I need him at Turning Point in Full Sail, where I'm going to be in the building to go bananas. That's all I said. But then things happen where Elijah Elias comes out with the guitar, slaps him over the head. But then I had the Frankie Kazarian situation. And I was like, oh my God, Frankie now is in there. And I go, he's a Mount Rushmore. He wants to tie. I'm like, oh, I was afraid of that. But then the spin the block, Mike gets an opportunity to celebrate, and in an emotional celebration, when he hands his title to his daughter, and then he just drops down. My God, I as a male, as emotional as a father, I don't have a daughter. I have 2 sons, and trust me, I know that feeling. Watching my son graduate last Friday from University of Full Sail and winning and being a valedictorian. I know what Mike is feeling. I get it. That's why I identify so much. We're not having the same story, but I identify with things similar in our lives. How proud I was as a father seeing my son graduate the university with a bachelor's degree and being valedictorian. And then to see, I knew that pride of Mike winning and seeing that happiness from his daughter. You did it, Papi. That emotional, that overcoming obstacles, because, my son, he graduated, but, there's things, with my son that he's talented, he's gifted, he has a little bit of a speech impediment, and he's graduate valedictorian, and seeing all that good, it was great to see where a kid from the Bronx moved to Florida. And that's what I did as a father. I moved my son, my family to Florida for a better opportunity, and it paid off. The sacrifices you do as a dad, to see Mike do that sacrifice, cleaning his life, overcoming triumph, overcoming what life had thrown at himself, self-inflicted or not, but still getting back, pa'lante, no te rinda. That's why I identify so much for Mike Santana, and that moment there, I just captivated me and put me in those shoes. I've walked those shoes, and seeing him walk those shoes, seeing his victory and his triumph, I identify with it. I think a lot of us that lived in that identify with that one way or the other and connect. And of course, what do we say about wrestling? Wrestling is an emotional connection between audience and fans, and that's exactly what we want when we watch our professional wrestling. So that was a special moment, man. We are still ecstatic, emotional for Mike Santana. Now with Trick Williams. Where does Trick Williams go from here? Especially the way Showdown ended when he walked out on Team NXT. I don't know what happens to Trick because he feels like he's not welcome in the NXT locker room or the TNA locker room. He's kind of like in between his legs, tail between his legs. I think he'll have one more match or one more situation, maybe Halloween Havoc or something. And then I don't think we see Trick on television until Royal Rumble.
Do you see a world where
the next time we'll see Trick?
Do you see a world where we get a Trick and Santana 3?
Am I opposed with it? I wouldn't mind seeing that again.
I wouldn't mind seeing it again because to me, this feud it started off a little bit like because as much as I love Santana getting added, right, he still kind of felt like the odd guy out with Joe Hendry and Trick. Now that they've done this, and it's like this was supposed to be a one-on-one match at Slam before even it was a triple threat. And then they added the wrong guy. So I think we can get another one. I love it and hate it because it gets my stress levels up and down. But seeing this match really can go either way. Anytime these guys, like last night really could have went either way. As much as most people thought most people thought Santana was going to win that Slammiversary, and we saw what happened, right? Like this match, when these two guys go against each other, anything could happen. I honestly think it's so unpredictable. And I don't know if it's because we experienced it like literally right there, but it makes for good story. They do a good job of building the matches. It gets Santana over to NXT. And that's the thing. I hope that this being over doesn't like limit Santana being on NXT. Like, because like you said, like him and Ricky Saints, that's still in the door, but it's like I personally don't, no matter who it is at this point, I don't really want to see a unification match. I'm kind of over it. We already had the tag team titles unified. The women just got ununified. Let's just keep both of those men separate. But I hope there's another NXT person that could step up to Mike Santana and that would want to, because I still would like him on NXT. Obviously, NXT is a bigger platform. They're on CW. Obviously, like, I'm gonna explain all that, but it's like we need Santana still on NXT because most people won't forget about him. WWE Universe won't forget about him because he's going there eventually. And I still think it's good for Santana to work in front of a live crowd because he's not really doing that over on Impact on Thursdays. So that's what I got for Santana. At the end of the day, it's really what's next, who's gonna, how's this gonna play out, and I'm really excited to find out, and I think it's gonna be great stuff.
All right, here's what I want to say. I know you don't want to see the Ricky Saints Mike Santana. I do, because I need Mike. If I need Mike to if they're gonna do unification, title versus title, I need Mike to hold that title. I think Mike will benefit even uber more because Ricky is going to go to the main roster. He's buddies with Cody. We all know that. He's going to be a Cody stable. There's storyline with Cody. They're going to get him going. I think eventually, like you said, Mike is going to be transitioning like a Joe Hendry, eventually going to NXT or maybe WWE TV. That's why I'm hoping. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if that's going to be in the cards. But I don't know, because again, this is where I get mad, because where Royal Rumble's heading, I say F. I'm so effing upset because you telling me at some point at the Royal Rumble, your TNA World Champion Mike Santana comes out and Damian Priest is there waiting for him. Oh my God.
we would mark
Bro,
the fuck out.
but it's in Saudi. We gonna, even if it happens, it means nothing. The pajamas are not gonna get excited with it.
No,
And
they're
it's
gonna
like,
no, hell no.
a moment. And
You need to do that in New York, honestly. There, like something like that has to be in Florida, New York, California. Because if Saudi, yeah, they're gonna boo, just like they did with Cargill and Bianca.
they're not gonna know what's happening, huh? They're gonna be like, who?
Yep.
They're not gonna know if you see them meet up at the Royal Rumble. Maybe that's why I kind of want this for either Vic. I don't think it's gonna happen. No, Victory Road is after. No, Victory Road is before that.
Victory Road already
Turning
happened.
points before that.
Yeah,
November
turning
8th.
point, yep.
I bring that next week regarding live for November 18th. So it's my birthday. Prior to that, Turning Point was going to happen earlier. Would love to see Mike Santana, Ricky Saints, and he wins that, so he could be on that card at Madison Square Garden. Maybe that's where we could see a Damian Priest, Mike Santana at Madison Square Garden. You want to pop a rating? Mike Santana, Damian Priest at NXT on Tuesday night there on November 18th. You know what? If there's any creative, man. I know. I've been going through some little hard times. It'll be wonderful birthday gifts. Give me that as a birthday. Me and Chris' birthday in November, and Chris the Flash. Give us that. Give us Mike Santana, Damian Priest as a birthday gift on NXT TV, man. Let's go. My goodness.
Oh yeah.
Yache. Yeah, talk about that Christmas, birthday all together, and all Hanukkah, you name it, all in one shot. Would love that as a fantasy booker. Would love that to see Damian and Mike. I don't know how they'll get there story wise, but I would like to see Mike hold off that, win that NXT title, get that unification if they go that route. Personally, where Trick Williams now, we actually started off from where we go with Trick Williams. I like, if they don't go that route, maybe in Orlando, Turning Point. Mike Santana, Trick Williams rematch. He's going to have a lot of his supporters or Trick in the Full Sail school. At the Full Sail, you know what? Maybe that's a way of getting people in revenues to sell tickets. And then the Puerto Rican contingency goes to Full Sail to support you. The place will be ruckus, wild, and so live. I think they're going to be live anyway. But if you add, you're going to have your rematch where Mike takes on Trick at Turning Point. I'm good with it. I'm fine with it. Where maybe that's where we see some, where we could see something have implication for Mike going into NXT Tuesday. I don't know. We will see where it goes. Now, here's the last thing we're going to talk about here. Them not being on television right now. They're not going to be on TV this Thursday. I don't know if they're going to be anywhere near in the weekend to tape. So they're going dark or black for a couple of weeks. I'm a little bit bothered because you got to showcase Mike as your champion. Not being on television, that's why I hope we see him on NXT TV with that and the TNA World Title, where someone invites him like a Kelani into there, because I'm going to show you to everyone, and Mike gets sport in by Kelani in I don't know, some kind of form where Trick is like, you embrace him, but you don't love me. Something where they keep that feud alive. I hope we get to see Mike has that TNA title has to be kept shown with Mike as the new champion over and over, and WWE TV as well. If TNA is going a little dark right now, yeah, I hope so, man. Because we're excited. We can't wait to tune in. And you're going dark for a little bit. That's an issue.
No, it is. I agree. The momentum's there. You can't just take a break like that. I agree. I actually was gonna.
You got to get away from that. You know what, Chris? I was gonna say you got to get away from that stereotype. TNA, that TNA is doing TNA things. Get away from that stigma. Stay away from that stereotype. Look, I'm a Jet fan, and everyone's say the same old Jets. We got to get away from that same old Jets. No, seriously, you got to get away from that. Same old Jets. You got to get away from that.
Yeah,
and TNA almost had it with the main event. Yeah. And And you know, right now, don't fumble it, TNA. You're on a hot roll. Finish the year stronger. You're on a hot roll. You're strong. Finish stronger. You know. We know that TV deal is coming soon. We know that you got a new home coming up. Hopefully, we ask a place where you do some TV tapings, like a studio or a location. Maybe that's why they're in Orlando checking things out. Carlos Silva did mention on our channel about that. Possible place for call home. So we'll see, man. With that said, man, we are so proud and so excited that Mike, you're our champion. We appreciate the struggle, the hard work, the dedication. Thank you again for being part of this ride as a fan, for creating great moments for me to remember, to get emotional, to love, and the love letter that we have for this art of professional wrestling. And it just from all different aspects. We saw that on Cena and Styles. We saw that here, this journey for Mike Santana, the Dudleys and the Hardys. That's what wrestling is about, creating moments. And you created a moment for at least this 48-year-old New Yorker from the Bronx. Thank you. Chris, your thoughts before we say goodbye.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I'm still happy. We had a goal, and it was to interview Mike Santana, and we got to do it before Slammiversary, as you saw in the clip earlier on, which you'll see it again. And it's finally happened. This is again something that Kev and I have wanted to see for a long time, since January to be exact. And now that it's happened, and man, it's great. I can't wait to see what's next for Mike Santana in the next couple of weeks. But I'm really excited, and again, I'm hoping TNA can end this year in a hot one, and then go into 2026.
I got a great. Ooh, a little breaking news that I saw, Chris. John Alber from Sports Illustrated has reported that WWE has significant creative control in the finish to Leon Slater and Javon Evans match. Take it for
doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me.
And I want to say this: we have an open invitation again for Mike. When you want to join us, Mike, for us, it was an honor to have you on the first time, and now we would love to have you on as campeón, Metro Campeón. You're more than welcome to join us on come back again we would love to interview you with that TNA World Title. We want to congratulate you. If not, we're congratulating you via video and around post. We want to extend the invitation for you to join us on the Sports Jedi Network. You're true fans. Even regardless of the fact you come on or not, we're still gonna ride or die with you, my man. Gracias again. So guys, have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll talk to you soon, man. Thank you so much. This is your TNA Bound for Glory, from the Bronx to Bound for Glory for the Mike Santana show. Let's go. Gracias a todo el mundo. Que Dios me lo bendiga. I'm going to play the Sports Jedi Network presents From the Bronx to Bound for Glory, the rise of Mike Santana. The Bronx is where the